more people, but I wanted to start talking so that you know that the program is going to happen. Someone just asked me a question about that in the Q&A. Maybe we were too still. All right, I think this is good. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Roebling road trip, and a big thank you to everyone who made a donation for this program. We're trying our best to offer all of our virtual programs on a pay-what-you-wish basis to make sure that everyone who's interested can join us. All donations of any amount help our museum so that we can host great programs like this, as well as to continue to collect and preserve Roebling's history. In case you haven't met me yet, my name is Lynn Calamia, and I'm the Executive Director at Roebling Museum. I started right before the pandemic, and I've been having a great time learning about the company town of Roebling, the people who lived in it, and the people who currently live in it. These virtual programs have been as much about teaching me about Roebling history, as well as creating programs that you guys can enjoy too. So for those of you who haven't visited yet, Roebling Museum is located in the former company town of Roebling, New Jersey, which is in central New Jersey on the Delaware River. The company town is a historic district listed on the National Register. It was built in 1905, and I like to say that it's almost fully intact architecturally, about 98%. One building burned down, but we have an identical building, so that counts. And another one was moved from its original location, but it's still in the town. So that's really a very special thing to have a town that's that original in how it looks. So our museum itself is on the site of the former steel mill and wire rope mill that produced the materials needed to build some of the United States' most iconic suspension bridges. We have both indoor and outdoor exhibits that bring to life the story of the people who lived and worked in the town. We also have really great walking tours of the company town on Saturdays. I lead them, that's why I'm saying they're great, but you should definitely try to come by there at 1 o'clock, and we've been having a lot of fun with those. So for those of you who are first timers, Roebling Road Trip has been a virtual program series, and if you do want to catch up on previous episodes, parts of our series, you can check those out on our YouTube channel if you search Roebling Museum. We've done quite a few now. We've been to Cincinnati, the Allegheny Portage Railroad, Saxonburg, which is the town that John Roebling founded, of course, the Brooklyn Bridge, and there's even more on the way. So we'd love to hear what you want to see next. If you want, send me an email or even submit them in the chat or Q&A box below. We'd love to hear about it. Our next Roebling road trip is set for September 21st. The information on that one has already been announced. You can see it on our website, and it's about Roebling bridges in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And following that, it could be about your favorite Roebling historic site. So definitely let us know. We're always looking for suggestions. So just a little bit of the housekeeping side of things. The program, the way that it's going to run is our guest Nancy, she will give her presentation. And while she's talking, I really do encourage you to submit any questions that you have or comments in the Q&A or even the chat box, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'll be managing all the questions. It's not going to distract her from what she's talking about. I'll take care of those. And then when she's finished with her presentation, we'll do Q&A, keeping an eye on the time. So I'm trying to keep this short so we can get right to the program. So Nancy, you ready to go? I can't hear you. Hold on.
It's that old unmute thing.
There we go.
So I am Nancy Randolph. I'm the treasurer. Currently, I'm the treasurer of the Save Our Swinging Bridge org. We have this wonderful little Roebling Bridge in Maine between Topsom and Brunswick. And so I'm going to tell you all about it. And my face is not going to be on the screen. I am going to begin using the screen that I have. You know, I have a presentation, so I'm going to just speak. Oh, so you won't see me. I'm just going to speak. I'll feel much more comfortable because I have too much going on here. So with that, I'm going to head over here and let you watch a little drone go over our bridge. There was music and I took it off because music is so subjective. Some of us like it, some of us don't. Now this bridge, this is the very late winter, the ice is out and we don't have the spring color yet. So I just want you to see this little 6-foot wide bridge that's 330 foot long. And then we'll go on. And I'm going to stop it awfully abruptly. So why does this Androscoggin Swinging Bridge matter? After putting together this presentation that you're about to hear and see, I realized I'm going to tell you a lot about the cost of maintenance for the bridge. I'll tell you about the history. I'll tell you why it was built and who paid for it. I'll even tell you why I stayed on this project for 20 years. But I will tell you so much about how it costs. I hope I'm not boring you. So why does it matter? Why do we spend money maintaining this bridge rather than replacing it? So originally built to accommodate mill workers from a new housing development in the 17th century, the Androscoggin Swinging Bridge has served thousands of people of all ages who've used it to walk back and forth to school, to church, to entertainment, to visit family and friends, to shop and recreate. It's an integral part of Topsham and Brunswick and the community, and a popular stopping point for people driving along Route 1, as you saw that road was Route 1, who want a scenic view of the Androscoggin River or a peaceful pause in their travels. Also, this small walking bridge was designed and built by the John A. Roebling Sons Company. And of course, that's why I'm here today telling you about this bridge, designed by the company that you folks have a museum about all things Roebling. And this bridge was built shortly after the company completed the Brooklyn Bridge. Our first step is to talk about the history of why the bridge was built in the first place. There was a dark reason for our bridge to be built. It began with the mills and tenements. And I'm showing a map to show you, so if you look on the very far left, lower left, that is about where the swinging bridge is now. This was before the swinging bridge was built. So I just wanted you to see that. Now, it began with the mills and the tenements were built around the mills for the workers. By 1880s, the French Canadians were a large part of the Brunswick community, and the mill owners in Brunswick and in Topsham really loved the French Canadians, who worked really hard, were dedicated, and they worked because they had their families, and they many times brought their families with them. But the French community was affected more than the rest of the area during the outbreaks of diphtheria and typhoid, especially during the epidemic of 1886. The crowded conditions around the mills and the lack of adequate drainage at the mills and throughout Brunswick, and the use of the high water table for drinking water, led inevitably to disease and death. In 1886, diphtheria, typhoid, and diarrhea appeared in the spring and developed into an epidemic that involved, according to the Brunswick Telegram, approximately 250 cases and resulted in 46 deaths from May to September in 1886. The epidemic was concentrated in the Cabot tenements, which were very near the crossing where we eventually do the swinging bridge is put in. Other tenement buildings throughout Brunswick were also affected, and the epidemic was beginning to spread throughout the town before it was brought under control. The Topsom Land Company saw an opportunity to build and sell houses to the French Canadian families that wanted to move away from the tenements in Brunswick, yet continue to work in the Brunswick mills. Our bridge was built to provide convenient access to the development company's house lots above the north bank of the river. The Topsom Land Company, who built Topsom Heights, thought the bridge would make their development more attractive to buyers. They conceived it as a footbridge to allow Heights residents to walk quickly to Brunswick, especially to walk to work in the new mill that Cabot Manufacturing Company erected in 1891. And the two pictures you see are from the Cabot Mill. One on the left is a little bit before the bridge was, no, it was after, it says 1925. Anyway, I was wrong. I had another one that was before, but because the Cabot Mill wasn't built until then later. Anyway, 8 years earlier in 1883, we already talked about the Brooklyn Bridge being built. In 1892, the company that built numerous major bridges and other structures was supplying much of the wire rope that many call cables being used in North America. A footbridge in Maine was a small project for the famous wire rope company, but when contacted in the fall of 1891, Roebling sent a representative to Brunswick. The Topsom Land Company wanted a reliable firm to design the bridge and supply materials because a footbridge in Skowhegan, 45 miles north, had recently collapsed. When the first freshet of spring wiped out the Skowhegan Bridge, engineers found the core of the cables was made from hemp. So the developers contacted the Roebling Company. The Topsom Land Company met with representatives in 1891, and Roebling employed many bridge engineers who were designing suspension bridges all over the United States. Work began May 19th, overseen by E.F. Farrington of Roebling Company. And the iron work, according to the Brunswick Telegraph, they said that the iron work was going to be here next work, and the work will be pushed along as fast as possible, except Mr. Farrington, the supervisor from Roebling, had to go to Australia to supervise the erection of another bridge there. By early August, the stringers were across and the temporary planking allowed passengers to cross. And the Brunswick Telegraph reported that by September 15th, the suspension bridge is completed and is as substantial a piece of work as one would wish to see. There's no vibration even when a number are crossing at the same time. By October 20th, the bridge was being painted. Construction costs totaled $2,000. That's a whole lot less than we pay just for an inspection right now. As far as is known, the bridge weathered the floods of 1901 and 1902, which took out Waterville and Skowhegan pedestrian bridges. Skowhegan was taken out twice. They were subsequently rebuilt. The Androscoggin Bridge had its own set of problems. Although the developers in the 1890s thought the bridge was a worthwhile investment, they never promised to maintain it. They had always intended that would become a common convenience and a necessity, and it would be accepted as a public way. In 1906, one of the developers testified that the investment had not been a profitable one. In 1996, Topsom Land Company had spent $500 in necessary repairs. In addition, $200 was raised by subscription to make repairs, which included new sills. This is just a schematic that one of our engineers did during one of our in the rehab, but I just wanted people to see it so they'd see that we have the full 330 foot is this expanse, but it actually is extends 52 foot more on each side. And in 1906, so the towns really always had a problem on maintaining it. Even today, it's a good thing we have a nonprofit. In September 1906, the town of Topsom selectmen petitioned the commissioners of Cumberland and Saginaw counties to declare the bridge a public way. Now, the petition was opposed by Brunswick because they didn't think they'd get any benefit, and they thought they'd have to pay more than their fair share. And the commissioners met and viewed the bridge and held a hearing, and testimony was heard on both sides. In Brunswick, the Brunswick Board of Selectmen basically said they didn't know anybody who used that bridge, and so they just didn't think they should be accepting it. And they didn't want to spend the money for it. But business folks on both sides of the bridge wanted it. They said it was an asset to the towns, making life better for both workers and business people. And the pastor of the Catholic Church said there are 68 Catholic families living in Topsom, and along with their borders, totaling about 375 people. The only Catholic church was in Brunswick, so they used the bridge all the time to attend parochial school and attend mass. He reminded the towns that the existence of the school saved the towns $6,000 and $7,000 a year. But it still was mainly the Brunswick selectmen that were opposed. Nevertheless, the petition was granted. Repair work was completed in 1913, 1916. We believe that's when the wooden towers were replaced with steel ones. Topsom appropriated money in 1913, and again they show that in 1916 they finished paying the bill. And but there seems to always be a major problem with the swinging bridge because the disaster struck. So here, I should show you this. So the Topsom village, now we're at 1911, and it is a public way, the swinging bridge, and it's that little straight arrow on the far left, lower left. That is the swinging bridge, and the heights that had only 2 or 3 houses when the swinging bridge was built, now is well developed. It has all those little houses, all those little black squares or houses. So, and anyway, I wanted to tell you that the disaster struck in 1936, and the 1936 flood destroyed the bridge's decking and rails, sweeping away the entire deck. The cables and towers were unharmed, but the bridge was out of commission until the deck was replaced. Old photographs show the bridge with wood side rails. They were replaced after the flood with chain link fencing, and that's what I wanted to show. I turned them backwards. The Roebling wire cables have withstood the floods and other natural stresses on the bridge since 1892, and we still have, as we had that little flyover, you could see those were the original Roebling cables. So this is part of that 1936 flood. Sorry, I went too fast. The WPA helped replace the span using the original cables, and this is the plaque that you can barely read right now. I could have used a newer one, but I wanted to use a little more vintage one. The piers that the towers stand on were resurfaced and concrete, but probably the extent of the work to the tower. So they kept the original cables, they replaced the wood and put in the chain link fence and many of the pieces of iron that hold this bridge from the cables to the decking. So from 1936 until the 21st century, Brunswick have shared the cost of maintaining the bridge. And of course, they basically were doing general maintenance. They weren't doing much. And Topsom replaced the rails connecting the towers with the concrete abutments in 1993. Brunswick completed this replacement more recently. With Cabot manufacturing long closed, the bridge is still used by the residents of Brunswick and Topsom to access services back and forth. It was also used for a short while, well, for several decades, I should say. Topsom high school students attended Brunswick, so therefore Topsom students many times went this way. So where are we? We're turning to the 21st century. And by the 21st century, rust covered the towers, the handrails, and the cables of the bridge. A 2000 engineering study, found the bridge's twin 30-foot steel towers to be solid, but revealed the steel cables attached to them were loose, corroded, and broken. Concrete abutments on both ends of the bridge were cracked and wooden planks were rotten. Without repairs, the bridge was not expected to last beyond 2010. And it was in such poor condition that the weight limit, they limited it to 20 people maximum on the bridge at any time. And this is the same bridge that mill workers previously crossed several times a day. Today, this bridge is used by many. Travelers stop by. So the towns wanted to fix this. So they actually got together a group of people from the town, some citizens, some committee members, a couple of staff members on the town and on each town. And our charge was to determine whether the bridge should be saved, and if so, how to pay for the repairs without using local local property tax dollars. Eventually, my friend Liz Glover from Brunswick and I, then from Topsom, served as co-chairs of the Swinging Bridge Fund Committee. And that's what we called it as we were fundraising. The committee developed a rehabilitation plan that included improving access from both the Brunswick and Topsom ends of the bridge, created a website to raise community awareness and serve as a fundraising tool. And then we began looking for money. Maine Department of Transportation provided grants, $332,000 and $84,000 from the federal government. The balance of that $700,000 project was raised through contributions, both cash and in kind, from the community. And then in 2004, the bridge was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. This meant that the National Park Services considered it worthy of preservation and protection, just as the city of Roebling is. This did help us get funding from granting organizations. In 2011, I'm jumping ahead just because it seemed like the right thing to do. In 2011, it was dedicated as a Maine Historic Civil Engineering landmark by the Maine section of the American Society of Civil Engineers. During 2006, because the town, we had a plan, we did raise many thousands of dollars. So during 2006 and 2007, a total rehabilitation was completed. And in 2007, small parks were created on each end of the river. And we have pavers with people's names, people who donate. We have people's names in there. And the rehabilitation, they had to empty and clean up all the piers that held the bolts that held the ends of the cables. The Roebling cables went down into these to be secured. And we also did the parks, as I said, and we had this Davis Landscaping. They donated all the topsoil, and another company donated hydro seeding. And there were just so many things in the donation world that was great. So we got it done. So we had a grand reopening, and we had over 200 people at this little bridge reopening. And the late John Richardson, Commissioner of Maine Department of Economic Community Development, he spoke, and he said that this was an economic development initiative, because having it made Brunswick and Topsom both more attractive, and it made it just a good place for workers to be. When they worked in the Fort Andros, they could go take a 20-minute walk. People from Bowdoin College could walk there in less than 15 minutes. So it was really good to hear him. And your own Catherine Dodge, the great-great-granddaughter of John A. Roebling, came, and she basically gave us words of encouragement and cheered us along for all that we had done. And then Coleman Burke, who has since passed away, he actually was president of the Waterfront Maine, the owner of Fort Andros, that mill building where the workers from the Heights walked over to. And he spoke, and he said, "It is a splendid tribute to the symbol in this town of the energy and pride of its people who may pass this fairway today and the days ahead. It is all thanks to the equally dedicated members of this gathering who worked so hard and for so long to restore this bridge. The bridge also stands as a shining example of the dedication and perseverance and good old moxie of John and Washington Roebling, who so faithfully united so many people across our great country." In keeping with our historical use of the bridge, the French Canadians, who were mostly Catholic, almost all Catholic, the priest from St. John's Church rededicated the bridge to the betterment of the two communities. And we had so many people coming, and we had people looking at their bricks and who was on the bricks. And so it was just a really wonderful day. I look at this picture and I see, selectmen, town councilors, representatives to the state legislature. It's really a wonder who came out to that little bridge. And then in 2008, two friends of mine who had been working on the bridge from the beginning, and I formed a 501c3 and named it Save Our Swinging Bridge. And that's how we've been raising money and getting grants and such. And the purpose of the Save Our Swinging Bridge is to provide for the maintenance and the beautification of the historic Androscoggin Swinging Bridge and its environment in order that the public may enjoy the benefits of a historic pedestrian bridge for transportation, education, recreation, exercise, access to river views, and the community and cultural linkage between the towns of Brunswick and Topsom. That is the problem with a mission statement. They want to put everything in it. So anyway, in 2013, just 6 years after the total rehabilitation, our nonprofit paid over $19,000 to inspect and make repairs. And then in 2020 and 2021, another bridge construction firm repaired and performed maintenance on the bridge to the cost of $31,000. And in that same year with that same company, Brunswick, the town of Brunswick had to pay CPM constructors $41,000 to match the repair made in 1993 to the Topsom Tower rails to ensure the stability of the bridge. So you might ask how we raise these kind of funds. And so we have 3 avenues. the engraved brick donations, proceeds from our annual Save Our Swinging Bridge 5K, and our annual appeal begun just last year. Our second annual appeal is going on right now, and we'll be closing out in the middle of September. So engraved bricks, people donate 100 or 200 or more. They choose a 2 or 3 line engraving. They fill out the form that they find online, and they mail with your check, or you donate online by saveourbridge.org/donate. So that's actually it's consistent. Every year we get about $2,000, sometimes 3 if it's bumped up. And then the annual 5K, proceeds from our annual Save Our Bridge 5K. We get lots of sponsors. It doesn't cost very much, and people have a good time. And so we raise from $2,000 to $6,000, and that's in April, the day before. So if anybody wants to run it, they can come up, and the day before Patriots Day, the day before the Boston Marathon, we have our 5K. And then our annual appeal, proceeds from our annual appeal. It says 5K and it shouldn't, but that's okay. So we raise, again, even on the annual appeal, we raise 2,000 to 6,000, but we are actually, our goal this year is 10,000. Last year, art by our local artist and landscape architect Tony Minch was on the front of our annual appeal postcard. We just use a postcard because we cut down on the cost, and we still get a really good return. So that's about all I'm going to say. It looks like I actually went over, but I guess we can come back and I can answer any questions. Oh, I didn't say why I worked, but I can tell you why I did it when we come back with the video. So I'll put that video start. If you want to start the video, it probably is, right? Okay. Okay, and I'm going to stop the share.
So what is it about the swinging bridge that you love so much?
Well, you're going to be surprised. I was assigned this as a town councilor. In 2001 and 2002, I was a Brunswick town councilor, even though I live in Topsom now. Then I lived in Brunswick, and I've lived in both towns. And I was in the downtown district, and that's where I served, and that was my constituency. And so the bridge is in the downtown district. So I was assigned that task. Now, I don't do anything halfway. Like some people, if they didn't like to do it, they just wouldn't do it well or whatever. But since I had to do, there wasn't anyone I could reassign this to. And I was in the Navy and I served on the mess decks. I can do this, but I am, so I got so involved. I helped people. I talked with these old ladies who worked in the mill, and they just loved the bridge. And actually the Heights people love the bridge too. So you can't help but pull that into yourself when they love the swing. I've served on the town council in Brunswick, and I served on the Board of Selectmen in Topsom. And there's a lot of controversy all the time. The swinging bridge, there's no controversy. Everyone loves the swinging bridge. It's a wonderful feel-good project. So that's why I work on this project and have, but only 2 more years. I've given them notice. 22 years is enough.
That is enough time. Okay. So we've got some questions if you're ready.
I'm ready.
The number one question several people have asked, why is it called a swinging bridge?
Well, first of all, it's a pedestrian bridge and it's a suspension bridge. So it's not, a suspension bridge isn't made to be fixed. It's made to sway a little bit with the movement of people going across. Well, let's face it, people like me, I want to go like this and make it swing. I'm really 69, but in my heart, I'm 8 years old. So I make it swing. And I think everyone has over the years, we have 134 years, is it? Anyone want to verify my math? They're fine. But yes, it's that's why it swings.
Yeah, there's one in Trenton that's called the Shaky Bridge, and I imagine it's for similar reasons.
Yes,
Shaky
exactly.
sounds a little bit like shoddy construction, where swinging
Well,
sounds like it's on purpose, right?
well, the thing of it is it, for a while, someone had done something to make it not swing, and that endangers all the adjustments, because if it doesn't swing, it pounds. So it's really pretty neat.
Okay, got that one. Are the mill buildings still there? If so, what is their current status?
There is one mill building, and I really wish I could just find that picture because it's so beautiful. Coleman BURKE, who is now gone, he rehabbed that beautiful brick building. So there's only one mill left on the Brunswick side, and there's one mill left on the Topsom side. And the mill where this was the mill where the mill workers that lived in the Heights were to go to. And it now is a, oh my God, it has restaurants, it has businesses, it has organizations, it has downstairs, it has some manufacturing, like I'm trying to think, it's like ointments and lotions and things, and then there's a woodworker who does fine craftsmanship there. And so there's just an awful lot of it's a happening place. It's a wonderful place. There are art studios on one side, and then we have a flea market, and then we have the winter oh boy, what market, garden. What is it? The word, that's terrible. If we go
Greenhouse.
The farmer's market.
Farmer's market.
Okay. Farmer's market.
No, that sounds like it's really an active spot, and like it's sorry, another really good question came in. I'm going to ask it before I even continue what I'm saying.
No
Wonderful presentation. Thank you. No respect to town governments, but why does a nonprofit have to raise all the money to maintain a public thing? You are the perfect person to answer that because you were both.
I'm embarrassed that it's so hard. They don't want to spend money. And if it had been up to the towns, this bridge would have disappeared, because they never want to use local taxes. And to this day, we are raising these funds to keep it maintained. But I will say, when Brunswick needed to do the same repair that Topsom had done in 1993 before the rehab, I just insisted that Brunswick do it, because I said, no, Topsom already did it before we started. It's your turn to now. So they paid $41,000, and the two parking lots. I said, you guys, the town has to do the parking lots. And someone says, well, can't you get grants? I said, there are no grants for parking lots. So because I've served on both sides, they listen to me, and I do know where the grants are. And there were no grants for parking lots. So no, there's no good reason. There is no good reason, except people are just short-sighted. They don't know how beneficial just having a calm place to be, because when we are in Brunswick and we walk across the bridge into Topsom, there's a path through the river, through the woods along the river, and it is so peaceful. I think it increases the peacefulness of our towns. I think it helps us not be so crazy in this day when we are a little bit crazy, when we all feel like we have chaos happening all the time. You can just, I'll give you an example. I had a interview that was going to be tough. So I was driving, I said, I had to go past the swinging bridge, and I was early, as I always am. And so I just stopped at the bridge, walked on, looked at the water, I felt charged again, got back in the car, went, and I was getting a grant, and I got the grant.
Ooh, that's always good news. And I think it's also an icon. It is like a big part of the character, and you can't get that back once it's gone, you know? It's something that we're dealing with a little bit in Roebling. But relatedly, do you have any advice for similar organizations that need to get the community excited about history and these sorts of pieces of character?
Well, you first have to get a group of 13 people, and it doesn't matter who those
13. Why is it 13? Is
I
that a
don't know.
special number?
It is a special number. In all the things I've done, I always have 13.
Okay.
And it might be 12, it might be 14, but I've always had 13. And those people have to be they have to be really passionate about your project. If you can't have 13 passionate people, then throw in the towel. Because if you don't, I don't know how. I'm like, people say I did it. I did not. All the people who worked with, we had hundreds and hundreds of people donating, and then we had thousands of people who said, oh, I just love this. And people wrote letters to the editor, and that's another thing, you write letters to the editor. And in this day, when you can't necessarily write, well, you can still write letters to the editor, because some people write, and some of those people are the ones that write checks. They read the newspapers and they write checks. But social media, you can write that on social media. You can do little videos. I haven't done as much as that as I would want to. When we divvied up the jobs, so we had an education committee, we had a history committee, and we had a fundraising committee. And because I'm so good at fundraising, I was on fundraising. I regret that I didn't, although I don't have the time that everyone thinks I do. I wanted to be on the history committee and the fundraising, because they were audio taping those people, and I said, no, you should be videotaping them because they're dying, right? Well, they not only just audio taped them, they lost the audio tapes. So we have not the audio tapes, and we don't have the videotapes.
No.
Yes. So, but it wasn't my job.
I will say, though, on a positive note, that you guys have a pretty active social media presence, because we follow you, the museum follows you, and you guys are doing some sort of weird dinosaur thing right now that is so cute. There's like,
everybody
I
loves
think it attracts kids. It probably really does.
Well, I wish it would attract kids, but you know, the thing of it is, people do not comment on social media. They just don't. It takes a whole lot, but they comment out in the real world. People actually, or they'll send me an email, or they'll call me or something. I'm going like, I want you to go back and comment, because you know, that works. That makes our algorithms better. So yeah. So you saw the dinosaurs are great. We have a 30-year-old who has loved dinosaurs since he was a little kid, and he brings his dinosaurs to the bridge and takes pictures of them.
I believe it. I love dinosaurs too. Here's a question, and if my board chair or anyone who's very smart about Roebling stuff can chime in somewhere too. Does Roebling Museum in their archive have information about this bridge? And while I wait for someone to answer me, because I don't know the answer to that,
I know you do.
Where do you do research about the bridge? Do you know where it is? Is it at Roebling University?
No, our history is mostly, so today I was trying to find some photos, and I went through everything that we had, and some of the stuff is just still papers. It all needs to be digitized, and that way, so that's why I need to stop being treasurer and the 5K coordinator, and you know, and the person who oversees the social media, even if I'm not doing it. So yeah.
Well, I'll go down into the collection and take a look, because your bridge, how do I even say it? Say it again for me.
It's the Androscoggin Swinging Bridge.
I'll take a look. Yeah, some of my board members just chimed in and said that they don't know either, but I'll take a look.
I don't think you have anything really except what we've sent you.
True.
And one of the things that I know, this isn't our bridge, but there was a little play made about Emily Roebling, and they didn't videotape it, but I really think you folks I should find that guy again. It's been a long time, because at one time I sent it all to you guys. I think you should find that guy and get him to put it on, or give him, see if he'll donate the screen, the play, and you guys could put it on even with volunteers, and make money.
Absolutely. There is another outfit local to where the museum is that recently, I should say recently, it was before the pandemic started.
Right.
Last 2 years don't count. And they did one all about the Brooklyn Bridge and that whole story that seemed really, really good with local actors and stuff. But it was an opening like right when everything shut down. So hopefully there'll be something new. They were going to perform it in town at our auditorium and stuff like that. So there might be something. And I think that guy was a professor or something, because some of his students have read the one that you were talking about. Students reached out to me about it. We do have another actual question.
Okay.
And it's Maine related. Is it connected in any way to the swinging bridge in York, Maine?
I don't think that, I think it might be a swing bridge in York, Maine.
Oh,
So a swing bridge goes this way. See if it's swing. I could go check.
You're like, I'll look. Oh, Wiggly Bridge. Oh, that's why he said Wiggly Bridge. I thought that he was suggesting that that's a better name than Swinging Bridge.
No, there is a Wiggly Bridge.
It's the Wiggly Bridge. That's the one in York.
Let me see.
Pretty small.
So
it's the world's smallest York Harbor. You know what? Let's all go to Maine and go on the wiggly swinging bridges. I think it sounds great.
Do you want me to share this so everybody sees it?
Sure, we can.
Okay, here, just a minute. So
yeah, that looks
it is
cool.
tiny. I don't think it's 6 foot across. So it's the wig, yeah. So they call it's the smallest suspension bridge, they say. Well, I'm certain someone else will disagree. Anyway, everyone see that. I'm going to close that. Any other?
That is beautiful. We have another Maine. I don't know that you know everything about every bridge in Maine, but I'm going to ask it. Who built the Skowhegan?
The Skowhegan Bridge?
Skowhegan.
Well, it wasn't Roebling, but
Okay.
the first, and I don't know the names of those. I've gone and I talked with the Waterville people, and I actually have that information, but it didn't seem important for this thing. So I could dig it out, but I don't know. If you want, I could write that down as a question, and I could get answers for you. If you think, if you want it.
You're our ambassador to Maine, so I think that would be a good idea.
So when will I do that? So the Skowhegan, and I'll do the Skowhegan and the, but I think it's interesting that Skowhegan went down the river twice. Once with hemp in the inside of the cables, and the other time they must have just not built it well, so they didn't use Roebling.
Oh, couldn't have been.
Waterville.
All right, well, Nancy, this has been fantastic. I want to recommend to all of our viewers that they go and check out your social media and make comments on the dinosaur posts. The Roebling Museum. So do you guys do the brick thing every year? Yeah, right.
We continue to do it all the time. It's just we install it every year. So
okay. So the this year's date passed in July. We bought one at the museum. So go to Maine, see the Roebling Museum's brick. But you guys can get one, your own brick installed next year. You're gonna say something?
I have to tell you something.
What? It didn't work?
We did the brick, but we did another one because we couldn't let Brunswick or Topsom have unequal part with the Roebling. So we're putting one on both. So if somebody else wants to donate, but not for, and just donate for a regular brick, that'll be good, because we're not making very much on that. But we didn't want Topsom. We try to do Topsom Brunswick
equal,
because they're like sister
Yeah, no, I
And
get it. That's very generous.
They
Thank
don't
you.
get upset.
Well, I recommend all you guys go check it out, and their website has some really cool information. Check that out too. And Nancy, I recommend that you come to our next Roebling road trip because it's going to be about some more bridges that I know you'd love
I
to
just
learn
need to
about.
come down.
Please do. You can come look at our collections.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks so much for participating, and I'll be in touch.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good night.